Hey, we're supposedly live. That did not want to work. Didn't want to work with my streaming software. Then it didn't want to work directly on YouTube. It was extremely uncooperative. Sorry about that, guys. So we have people here, at least one person here. Okay. Picture actually looks halfway decent. Last time I used the camera direct with YouTube, I was all blown out and it wasn't cooperating in terms of the image quality. So we have at least two people here. Guys, how do you want to do this? Oh, now we apparently have nobody here. My plan was to run through what I'm not using, what's changed, and then what hasn't changed, and then plans going forward. Do you want to do that route, or do you want to do it some other way? Let me get my notes lined up here. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if you want to do it some other way, holler. Comments, I will switch it. Right now I'm only seeing top chat. There we go. Now I'll see all the chat. Not that there's anybody chatting. So, number one change is that I know it's not super obvious in the videos, but I have lost about 25 pounds. And I've gone from a 37 waist, 36, 37. 36s were always a little snug. 38s were always really loose. So it was like 36 and a half or something. Down to a 31. Roughly, because I have 33s for my jeans that I wear every day, and I can shove both hands in to like get my shirt lined up and tucked in properly. Not like one hand tight, but like I can get both hands in. So, I don't have tiny little wrists. I mean, like I've got fairly substantial wrists, and both of those are in there. So, unfortunately, Wrangler thinks that a 3-inch size difference for the waistline is like 6 inches, because I tried on some 3030s today. It was the only thing Walmart had in the style I've been wearing. They were 3 inches too small. Not sure how that works. I went down 3 inches from pants that are several inches too loose. Yeah. But this is significant for me. I have always struggled. I can get in better shape. I can get stronger. I couldn't shrink my waistline. I couldn't get any part of me to shrink. I could just make things get bigger. All the jokes, I know. But it's been working. Most of it, I think, has to do with fewer snacks, less junk. I mean, I wasn't a big junk food eater in the first place, but just less of it, more exercise on a continuous basis. Just, my life is more active than it was. I'm on my feet more hours of the day, more days a week, rather than doing office work. So, it's helping. It's definitely helping. And that has impacted a bunch of things. So the number one thing that impacted was the clothes don't fit. I mean, this shirt is now stupid loose where it wasn't before. My shoulders didn't really change. This shirt was always big in the shoulders, but it fit me, for my waistline. I like my shirts a little loose. Now it is significantly too big. I just still love it. Pig out on life. Come on, what's not to love? But like my belts don't fit. Pants that I used to wear all the time don't fit. They're stupid loose. So we'll get into all that. Big changes. Sold my P320 and my HK USP Compact. Both of those were 9mm. Both of those I had standard capacity mags for. I had a few for each. They were redundant. They were multiples in the sense that instead of having one platform, I had 3 platforms, 4 really, because I've still got my 1911s. What I did is I sold those 2 and I bought a Shadow Systems DR920. And that is going to be my full-size emergency gear, range, general duty handgun. Not my EDC. My EDC is still that little Kimber. I just want to standardize my main kit, because if you priced out SIG magazines recently, you know they're like $45. HK magazines are not really any cheaper. There aren't good cheap alternatives that are considered reliable. So I was literally looking at spending almost as much on magazines to get one of those 2 where I wanted to be than a new handgun. Like I could buy another P320 for what I was going to spend in magazines. And I'm looking at this, I'm going, holsters are more of a pain. Magazines are always going to be a pain. Accessories are a pain. Like, why am I doing this to myself? I just need to buy a Glock that doesn't bite me. And that product exists. I've talked about it numerous times. The Shadow Systems product line is a thing. The Zebs are a thing. Like, it's not hard. So yeah, I went and got a DR920, got rid of the other 2, done. Bought a bunch more of these 17 round magazines. I had a few, but I have enough now that, like, I have 2 on my training belt. I have 1 in the P80 on my nightstand. I have a couple in my emergency gear, and I've still got some for the range. Like, I've got enough. And if I want more, they're like $10, $11 each. Whoop-de-doo. And they fit both main guns, right? It's easy. Commonality of accessories, holsters, things like that. That is not true with the P80 build. It does not fit in my Glock holsters. Pain in my ass. But that will eventually get corrected. And I have a holster for that. The main role for that particular gun is the house. That's not something I carry. But if I handed it to somebody else, I have a holster they could put on with it, that kind of thing. I also sold my Bergara. And keep in mind, guys, there's no shade on any of the stuff I sold. All of it was working great. All of it was perfectly realistic for the intended role. No problems. I loved all of it. But I didn't need it. And I wasn't in love with it. There was no emotional attachment. And if I'm not using it and it's not the right thing for the job for me, out the door. I don't need to be keeping extra stuff. In the case of the Bergara, I don't particularly hunt. The only kind of hunting I would be doing would be like hogs or coyotes or something like that. And while the gun can do that, I mean, it was a 6.5 or 6.5 Creedmoor, medium length barrel, high quality, very accurate bolt action rifle. Absolutely can do that job. I had no interest in doing that with a bolt action. I don't need the rifle for anything else. And if I was going to do that more, I would go get an AR-10. That would be the appropriate rifle for the job in .308 or in 6.5 Creedmoor. That would be the rifle for the job, right? So I was like, I don't need it. And it's taking up space. It's just a pain in the ass. And I was never willing to commit to spend the money on magazines and other accessories for it. So it was always it was 90% of the way there. And I just never bothered doing anything else with it. Because if I'm hunting deer or anything else in that category or bigger, or if I just right now had to go hog hunting, I have a very nice 8mm Mauser that never was a military rifle. It was a sporting rifle from day one, very early 1900s build, gorgeous rifle. Kicks like a mule, but you're firing one shot. And then maybe you fire another shot, 15 minutes later or something. It's not a fast follow-up gun. You're not going to get 2 hogs. But like, I literally think I have 1 box of ammo. I need to get more ammo for it just on principle. But could do that. But again, not something I do. So priorities, I keep harping on it lately. Priorities, make a list of your priorities for things, stick to it until you've got those priorities met well. I was not happy with how I was meeting certain priorities, and I'm making adjustments in those directions. The next big change was on my training belt. I had to take off the medical kit, not because I didn't want it there, but because I literally shrank around my middle, and the med kit was now in the way. I couldn't sit down. If I sit down in a chair, it was all being shoved in weird places and was very uncomfortable. And I need to figure out another solution. I think it's going to go down to, instead of the full med kit, I think I'm going to either do an abbreviated one in the back, that is a little softer, more flexible, and can follow my back, or just a tourniquet directly in front of the pistol. And I'm experimenting with where I put the pistol. Do I bring it a little further forward? Do I keep it back further? We'll see. But it's been interesting because now I can't run 2 rifle mags. The second rifle mag is basically behind my back. It's an issue, right? I mean, if you're used to having 2 rifle mags, 2 pistol mags, now I can have 2 in 1, and I can pick which 2 I want, and the other one gets 1. Right now it's 2 pistol mags, 1 rifle mag, because I figure most likely for what I'm using that belt in real life with is I'm going to the range. If it was actually the end of the world, Armageddon, zombie apocalypse, I can change it out. Or I might just deal with having further behind my back. Or maybe I'm wearing a plate carrier that has more rifle mags, that whole thing. For people wondering why I can't get it to fit, I like my kit to be comfortable when I sit down in a car, an office chair. It needs to be practical in actual life, not just at the range. So if I'm standing up, it was fine. Running around at the range, it was fine. It was, you stop to sit down and have lunch, and you're like, ugh. It wasn't practical. I couldn't wear it home from the range. I couldn't wear it here sitting down anymore. And to me, that's important. Most of my experience with this stuff in real situations is that you're doing a whole lot of other stuff, and then you're also worried about something bad happening. So M76 just depends on what you're hunting. I don't think about it as a favorite hunting caliber. It's okay, you're hunting this animal at this distance. What is appropriate for that? I've done more hunting in the technical sense of the term with 223 or 222 Remington than anything else, because I'm not a big deer hunter. I haven't historically been a big hog hunter. So, coyotes, rabbits at one point, because they were tearing up farms, groundhogs, things like that. It was varmint, pest, predator control on farms. And you don't need a lot of caliber for that. You just pick your shot, and your range window is known. It's the far end of that field is how far away. So you're more interested in a flat shooting cartridge in that range envelope. I've never gone hunting with anything bigger than an 8mm, and I've only done that once. I didn't need anything bigger. And even then was overkill, because 8mm on whitetail is overkill. It's silly, unless you're shooting much further range than most people are. And guys, feel free to ask questions. Don't worry about if it's kind of off topic. We're good. That's the whole point of having a live. If I just wanted to make a video, I could do that. I didn't need to do that live, I did adjust my armor setup. The shoulder straps got tightened up, closer on both sets. Did help. Fits better, is more comfortable, and it's not just the adjustment. It's the fact that it hangs on me better now that I've lost some weight. Um, it's just life is better when you are less overweight. I mean, I'm still overweight, but I'm getting closer. And at this point, it's more body shaping than necessarily weight. Um, I probably won't lose more than a few more pounds, but things will continue to adjust and shape. Hopefully, I don't lose too many more pounds. My kind of ideal body weight would be like 180. But I'm kind of playing with the idea of doing, and this is kind of jumping ahead, but I'm playing with the idea of doing a more structured plate carrier, kind of like a JPC2, something in that vein where you've got a little more, it kind of stands up on its own, like if you put it down, it doesn't just flop. And that mostly comes down to the cummerbund, but not entirely. More comfortable shoulder pads are a thing. Right now, both my plate carry setups are very much minimalistic, lightweight. Not necessarily my plates being super light. They're kind of on the lighter end, but still heavy. They're not the super light stuff. But they're meant to be something you could wear under other stuff and have it be less obvious. And I've in the past had more structured, full-on gear, and it is more comfy. I mean, like, just realistically, if you don't have to conceal it, it's more comfy. It stays in place on your body better. The shoulder pads are more comfy. You have more real estate to put gear, without it being an issue. And I would like to. Most likely what I would do is I would transition my soft plates to my slickster, and I would put my hard plates in that rig. But realistically, I don't have a need for it. It's just something I would like to play with. So that's probably going to be an eBay, pick something up used that I catch cheap, play with it. I did need a new belt. I got a 511. Goes this way. This is a Elastec. And what it is this whole portion from here to here is very slight elastic. And I'm going to pull this. Let me back up a little bit. I'm going to pull this as far as it'll go, because you can see how long it is now. That's as far as it goes. Like, it's maxed out. I'm pulling hard. It's not moving any further. So it's really only like 1.5 inches, 2 inches of adjustment. And then you can adjust the length. I mean, you've got a Velcro tab here. I don't know how clear that is on the video, but it goes from about here to here. So I've got another almost 6 inches of adjustment room. Which, given how it's designed, is probably only giving me 3 inches of adjustment, but it is what it is. But anyway, the point is that you can wear this pretty snug and still have some flex. So when you move, when you sit down, it still stays tight. And then when you stand up, it's still tight, which makes you able to wear a belt that is snug in every position. You don't have to go from loose to snug depending on how you're moving, or deal with it being too tight when you sit down all the time. I know, not non-skinny guy problems. They're like $40, I think $42. And supposedly they're not bad for carrying. I have not tried it yet. That's why there's no review yet on the belt. But in terms of comfort, good. Durability seems pretty good. I don't think it's going to last like my wilderness belt. Most likely I am buying another wilderness belt. I'm just waiting to see what my waist size winds up at. Because right now I'm kind of, the wilderness belts you can get in a bunch of sizes. But like the 511 belts, I am barely a medium. Like, it doesn't really fit, but I'm way too small for the large. The large is basically what my wilderness belt is right now. So it's like, I can't do their medium, but I can't do the large. And if I order a wilderness belt, I'm basically ordering one that's going to be too big if I keep shrinking even another couple inches. I would rather wait and see. And then I'll also, once I settle at a new normal size, I'll probably order a nice leather carry belt. That's been on my list for a while. I haven't had a good leather carry belt in like 3-4 years, and I miss it. But I also need to get a short Milt Sparks VM2 or something similar, something else for inside the waistband carry, because right now I have a full length one for a 5-inch 1911. And when I sit down, I'm cockeyed. It hits, and never hit before. So that tells you how long I was roughly at that size, because I've had that holster for over 20 years, and it is what it is, right? I'm not going to complain about it, but it is an expensive situation because a whole lot of gear is no longer the right size. Let's see where we're at. All right. So what didn't change? Mainly my AR setups. They pretty much stayed the same. Okay, it was not a bug. My uppers are all the same. I have not changed anything on them. My lowers, since I did the Aero Precision pistol lower build, have not changed anything. I occasionally swap around which one's on which lower. Tinker toys, right? They're AR-15s. But generally speaking, they're as I presented them in the past. The optics have not changed. I am running 2 Primary Arms GLX, the 2.5 to 10 on the DMR setup, and the 2X Prism on the What Would Stoner Do build. My advanced microdot, push button microdot, is on my 300 Blackout. I thought about doing another one of the 2X on 300 Blackout, but honestly, the red dot works. It does the job. Like it fits that role. The priorities fit. And that's the rifle I'm more likely to be wearing with a plate carrier slung. And the microdot has nothing on the side of the scope, side of the sight. Whereas the 2X has a big old illumination knob, like obnoxious. I mean, come on. That's not subtle. If that's rubbing against your torso and you've got a plate carrier on, it's annoying. In contrast, this is on the outside. This side has nothing. And even that is pretty minor. You've got a little knob covering your adjustment screw, and then the battery box. Very flush. I mean, it's actually inside the quick detach, okay? Like my LaRue quick detach is sticking out further. The shell deflector is sticking out further. But on the side that's going to be on your body, there's nothing. It's slick, right? So that is my preference. I am still running these Geisleys. That has not changed. I'm still running the standard safety on my main rifle and the LaRue trigger. On the DMR setup, I also have a LaRue trigger, but I have the ambi safety. And the reason for that is simple. It is entirely possible to be shooting that rifle lefty for me. And that is more likely to be the rifle I'm handing to somebody else who knows what they're doing. And having the ambi safety is valuable for somebody who knows what they're doing. Somebody who does not necessarily know what they're doing, does it really matter? Like if you have to teach somebody how to manually work a safety, it's, whichever side the lever is on, right? The odds are good they're right-handed anyway. And for me, the What Would Stoner Do build has always been right from the start. Like the actual reason I did one was, and I did it before the What Would Stoner Do stuff. I kind of was already in process of that when they started talking about it. But the reason for it is simple. I'm more likely to be handing that to a woman who knows how to shoot, but is not a shooter in the normal sense, right? And it's lightweight. It's easy for them to use. There's minimal recoil, and it's user-friendly. That optic is user-friendly. It is quick, easy, lightweight, simple. So I didn't want to complicate it with having the safety on both sides. It gets annoying if you're right-handed, having that safety on both sides. It actually hits your trigger finger. Thank you. It's nothing special, but it all works. I think it's what happens after years and years and years of little tweaks. But yeah, otherwise, nothing's changed. Somebody asked the other day if I was still using the Seekins Precision rail, the MCSR V2, I think it is. Yes, that is still on there. It's one of the few rails I like that covers my suppressor with room to spare. Like a lot of the rails are like, oh yeah, we fit over a 1.5-inch suppressor. And what they really mean is like it's a friction fit. Like the inner diameter of their rail is 1.51 or some other bullshit like that. I can take my suppressor on and off. Like there's room in there. I like it. It is a little chunky. It is a little beefy, but I mean that's the consequences of wanting to have it go over the suppressor. It isn't particularly heavy. It's nice and smooth in the sense that like there's no sharp edges, but it's got enough traction that even if you're not on the grip panels, you're still good. The Protac mount light, perfectly good. Nothing special about it. I've got the old one. I don't have the 1,000 lumen Hilux or HLX. Hilux, yeah. It's a Toyota, really. So like I'm looking for another one of those lights. I just don't want to spend the money right now. Low priority item. It'll happen, but I want to have one for the What Would Stoner Do build. And the idea is that it would be set up in a way that you can take it off easily, because the light would probably actually not live on the rifle. It would be set up for the rifle, meaning I would have the tape switch on the rifle probably. It would all be there, but it wouldn't live on the rifle. And in fact, I might leave it not on the rifle, not even the tape switch. I might leave it as a push button, but not with the, if I get one that could also be on a pistol, not with pistol push buttons. And the idea being I can leave the light in my gear. I don't need to have it on the rifle. That rifle, part of the beauty of it is it is so light and streamlined and simple. But if I want to put the light on it, I don't want it to be a complicated thing. I want it to be a couple seconds with an Allen key at the most. So ideally, it would be something that was finger screwed in, which, I mean, there's ways to do it. There is a little rail at the top. Let me grab that again. There is 3 spots of rail up here, and I could put a light that offsets so that it's up here, and I go push, push, push to turn it on, right? It's because this is, for me, this is right. The length is about right. It's actually a little short, if anything. I need an 18-inch rifle. But for a woman, that might be about as far as she can reach. Okay, unless she's particularly short, in which case maybe she can reach, maybe not. But you can probably slide the light back, right? But an offset mount that goes across and then out for the light, puts the light like that, would work. And there's plenty of those. Streamlight has that setup where it's just a finger tight. You can buy various mounts. Arasaka makes one. Haley Strategic makes them. Magpul makes them. The Magpul one, you need a little tool, but still easy, right? I just got to decide how I want to do it. And I've got to be willing to spend the money. And I've not figured out how I want to do it. And I'm not currently willing to spend the money. Not a priority. There's other things that are higher priority. Because like I said, the 300 Blackout is my main rifle. The other one is not, it's not what I'm grabbing. We already talked about still running the Streamlight. I am still running and I know I get lots of hate for this. The P80 as my house gun, and I'm still running the little light. PL2 Valkyrie, PL2 Mini Valkyrie. Okay, it works. It does the job. You can go on. Oops. Without being on the gun, I'm not doing it correctly. Temp, momentary. It works. It's got buttons on both sides. Like, what do you want? And it mounts, it slides in position. I don't have to worry about it. Now, the P80, I mean, I had that person who absolutely went off the other day about it. That was very entertaining because I'm not sure what's special about a P80 versus a Glock. It is a Glock, not by Glock, but I'm sorry. What would be not reliable? If I misdrilled holes, it's either not going to work or it's going to be very unreliable, or it's going to work fine because the parts mount and they work. I haven't had any problems with this thing since I got the right slide release. And when I didn't have the right slide release, the problem was that I would hit the slide release and it wouldn't stay open. The only other problem I had with it was magazine related. 10-round Glock magazines are not dimensionally the same. Don't know why. Don't know why they did it. It is annoying. They don't freaking seat fully in the P80. I haven't been able to confirm whether they seat properly in all regular Glocks or if it's something else. However, I measured. They are not the same as every other freaking magazine. PMag, Glock, ETS, pick your Glock magazine, the dimensions from where that mag catch is to the bottom of the mag to where it starts, where the base plate is, and then to the top. They're not the same. Don't know why. But it's just enough. Hey, how you doing? What did you do to your neck, by the way? I saw your EDC video. And you were definitely a little cockeyed. But yeah, the P80 is as reliable as you've tested it to be, right? Just like any handgun. It works. It is my house gun. Like, that is what I'm going to use if I don't go grab a rifle. And I'm not worried about it in the slightest. The only thing I would like to do to it is put tritiums on it. And again, not spending the money. At the distances in my house, my apartment, with my background and skill and everything, I'm not using sights. I may pretend to. I may bring the gun up and line up a sight, but the whole thing is going to happen faster than I'm going to actually acquire a sight picture normally, right? It's almost like the gun index. The whole gun is lined up on you, and I mean, that's just life. That's just reality. If you're far enough away for me to worry about what kind of sights I have in my gun, they'll work. They're good enough. If I can't see that fiber optic front sight, I can't see well enough to be shooting because I can't identify my target. I mean, it's pretty much that simple. Yes, I still get Glock Bite. This damn thing still bites the crap out of me. I don't shoot it that often because of that. But when I do, once I've cut myself, it doesn't get worse. So, well, you're just weird. Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those, it either fits or it doesn't. And for me, it fits better than the Glock. The standard Glock grip, to me, I can't aim. If I bring it up on target, I'm way off target, which is why I did Shadow Systems as my Glock. This is the compact V2. So the what is it? P940 CV2 or something. And it's basically a 1911 grip angle, which is, I mean, I'm a 1911 guy, have been for I don't know, 38 years, something like that. So it works. But if that's not your grip angle, if that's not your natural point of aim, everybody's different, right? But yeah, you just have to test them. And if you did a bad job milling out things, if you didn't clean it up, if you bought crappy parts, or even bought good parts, but from 5 different manufacturers and the tolerances didn't line up where they were supposed to, shit happens. I'm not saying that P80s are naturally perfect. I'm just saying that there's no reason a P80 build can't be perfectly good. There's anything significantly worse than if you started with an actual Glock. The difference is that Glock has done the work to make sure that all the parts go together. You can do that yourself. If you screw up, you replace the part, right? In my case, I bought factory Glock parts. There was the P80 kit for the lower for certain things, and the rest of it is factory Glock. I didn't do anything weird. I literally bought a factory Glock set of parts, and then the slide and the barrel are both from Rocky Brass. They work. I don't know what to tell you, but I get more hate about the light. Not on here, but just in general. People give me a hard time about the O-Light. Whatever. Like, would I like that to be one of the mid-power Surefires or Streamlights? Sure. Somebody else paying for it? I mean, I want it to be easily rechargeable, and I want it to work. And honestly, if it fails, I'm not in Afghanistan. I am not in Iraq. I am not in the backside of nowhere. If it fails, I'm probably in my apartment. I can still see or not see. I can turn on a light and I can buy a new light the next day. Like, this is not, I am not buying it for that scenario where 100% reliability is that crucial. If light fails in the horrible situation that I need my home defense handgun, like I said about the sights, right? You're at most 25 feet away. I mean, the longest sight line is basically from where I'm sitting to my front door. And I'm pretty sure I can just throw the pistol and hit you in the head. So, and I am not a baseball player. So, but yeah, in terms of everything else about it, the Glock Bite and the quality of the sights, the relative accuracy and all that jazz. There's a reason the 920, the DR920 is in the War Belt. It is a better handgun. It also doesn't bite me. But I don't feel worried about trusting my life to the P80 build. I am still running the Magpul slings with the exception of my What Would Stoner Do build because it doesn't have a rear QD slot. For that, I'm running a Strike Industries sling. I hate it. It works. I just don't like it. It's almost round. Like, it doesn't stay flat on my body. It is just awkward. And honestly, I just need to buy another MS4. They are what happens when somebody thinks about the cost when making a Zev. like Zev was like, fuck it. If it costs $1,500, it costs $1,500. If it costs $2,000, it costs $2,000. Shadow Systems was like, who are our customers? Law enforcement, EDC people, and limited class competitors. None of these people think in terms of unlimited budget. They would all love to spend more money on something else rather than the handgun, but they still want a good handgun, right? You're not buying a basic Glock. And I mean, I've looked at tons of stuff. I think they nailed it. They're not perfect. They're very good. They are, I don't know, they have a reputation as well planned out. but you still see people, having issues with them. You still see mostly early ones, like the first run of each one. Like people were talking about having problems with the DR920P, which is the what do you call it? Compensated one. Well, yeah, it had a revolutionary system for the compensator, and it's a strange gun. Yeah, a couple people had problems. Most people did not. The CR920, which is the little concealed carry tiny one, yeah, it's a little tiny pocket gun. They had issues. That's just facts. That's how it goes. Most of them work fine. I would say most likely their failure rate is about on par with the Hellcats, the 365s, the Shields, any of them. The difference is that people get worked up when they spend $700 or $800 instead of $350 or $400, right? So I don't know. But yeah, the MS4s, I want to do another MS4 and just take the rear QD off, the one that fits on the stock, and just do a paracord loop to my stock, because I've got a front QD and it's got this stupid paracord setup, and it works. Don't get me wrong, like it works, but it doesn't stay flat, right? And then you have a very narrow strap, and then you have this, and I mean, I know it doesn't look like it on camera, but it basically is very thin and round. Not entirely, but when you're trying to wear it quickly, when you're trying to deal with gear, it doesn't want to just lay flat where you put it. And then at the back, all I've got is the traditional loop and the paracord going around that. And there's no reason I can't do that with an MS4. Because, oops, the MS4 has a QD at the end of it. And unfortunately, that is a closed loop. That is a stitched loop, right? Well, I mean, it's going to cost me a QD unless I just get somebody to stitch me a new loop, right? But in that case, we're cutting this loop off. But I can cut the QD off and do a cord loop to put on the rifle. Now, can I find another sling and just put a QD at one end and cord at the other? Yeah. I may order one of the ones from Primary Arms. They have them for like $7. But I'm really used to the MS4s. Commonality, Move, cat. Move. You're in the way. Trying to keep the commonality of equipment. And I'm used to the MS4 slide. I'm used to the way it feels. I'm used to the length. Like, it's kind of gotten built into my practice, right? We'll see. But sacrificing the QD piece, I mean, whatever. A couple minutes with an angle grinder, right? A pair of bolt cutters, maybe. I don't know how hard those are. And I don't have big bolt cutters handy, but I mean, I'm sure I can take it to work and do that. Blah, 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 blah. Other things that haven't changed. I still prioritize dry fire, live fire, and training over fancier gear. A lot of times I'll say that the item is not worth the money to me. Like, upgrading a piece of equipment is not worth the money to me. And it's not about not spending the money. It's about, if you're spending the money on shooting related stuff, is the gear the thing that money should go to, or should that money go to more range time, another class, more ammo for same, right? Should it be, just another trip to the range, Because let's face it, these days with ammo prices and everything else, a trip to the range is not cheap. Like $20 for a range fee. I think it was 25 the last time I went, by the time it was all said and done. And then ammo, and then gas to and from. And let's face it, there was a coffee involved on the way. That was like $4. By the time I'm done, I probably spent 150, maybe more on this range trip. And that was just to shoot pistols for a little bit. That was it. So that's money spent. Could I have spent it on better gear? Sure, a couple range trips equals a really nice light on my rifle, right? But which was more important? Which was more valuable? Which improved my abilities more? Which gives me more capability if something goes wrong? And as long as your gear is good enough for your situation, for your needs, you are the determining factor, your skill. I am 100% in that camp, that it is about you more than the gear. I think did shot placement, situational awareness, things like that, the ability to do it smoothly, the ability to not make fumbles is more important than having just the right caliber, just the right barrel, just the right handguard. Yeah. Does it matter? People have been killing each other with sticks for tens of that, 50,000, 100,000 years, a million years. I don't know, however long. What religion are you? Like how far back do you want to go? It's about the person. It's about their skills relative to the other person and their skills. As long as you are not completely off base in terms of who brings what to the party, right? If you've got a stick and they've got a gun and they're 50 feet away, you're toast. If you're 5 feet away and their gun's in the holster and your stick is held over your head, maybe you win. But did you hit or did you miss with the stick? Because if you miss with the stick, you're not going to get another swing, right? Same thing when you're the guy with the gun. You got to be aware enough to not let the guy with the stick be 5 feet away before your gun's out of the holster. And if you did, you've got to be able to dodge the stick, get the gun out of the holster, and make the shot before he swings the second time. Does it matter what the gun is, or does it matter that you practiced enough? So things that I'm looking into. The light, we already mentioned. The not necessarily quick detach, but easy detach. Something that I can just, at most, like an M-lock, twist key setup, a Torx key or a hex key, something where it's really easy to do with a basic tool I can leave it in with the rifle or in with the light. Something I'm not going to mind carrying in my emergency gear. A light for the DR920. I would like to do one of the Streamlights. Might end up with the O-light just out of cheapness and commonality with the current one. I might do the same light. It works. I like it. I don't know. But a Streamlight TLR1 HL with the rifle kit could technically cover both roles, because in neither case do I need the light most of the time. It's not going to live on the firearm. So could cover both. It's not something I would be using regularly. It's not something I would be practicing with constantly. I would probably practice with it every few months on each setup and then take it off, put it away. It's more, I want to have the ability to put something on there, and I don't currently. So, because remember, the rifle is not the one I'm going to be using most likely. It's very unlikely that I would be using that rifle in any kind of oh shit situation. So it's not, I don't need to be as practiced with that. I'm more worried about being practiced with the 300 blackout setup. So, we already talked about the plate carrier. I would like to do something like the JPC2. Maybe I buy a second hard plate, a second multi-curve hard plate, so that I can do 2 hard plate setups. Again, cost, value, priorities, that's a low priority for me. The odds of me ever needing the plates is minuscule. So spending extra money on that for a redundant set doesn't seem practical. My EDC flashlights, my general day-to-day flashlights. I don't carry it on me. I carry it in my backpack, but I have it with me every day. And right now I've got a little Fenix LD22 and LD12. And they're both dying. They're both, 15 years old, just about, and they're dying. And more importantly, they're also obsolete. Time has moved on. The only thing nice about them is that they do run on double A's. They do work on double A's. I use rechargeable double A's, but it's a pain. I would like something that I can just plug into USB and charge it. Unfortunately, Streamlight decided that micro USB made sense. Yeah. Not the high power USB-C that has enough output to charge your light quickly. No, not the one that doesn't matter which direction you turn it, so you don't have to worry about shoving it in there wrong and messing up your port. No, not the one that's by standards water resistant, or at least moisture resistant. No. Why would you do that? No, the freaking idiots did micro USB or mini or whatever it is. It is not any of that. What were they thinking? Because they continue. If they had just done on the old one, the micro, I'd be like, okay, the micro light. It was before USB-C became so dominant, but they did it on the macro light. Just came out. It's only like 2 years old, year and a half old. Really? Why? Why would you do that? I don't understand. So I'm really thinking I'm going to have to buy something else. There are things out there. And again, I might wind up with an O-light because it's got the magnetic charge. But the Streamlights tend to hold up better. They tend to be more water resistant when there's pressure involved. And I don't know why there would be pressure involved, but shit happens. For the price difference, the Streamlight is significantly better for if anything, moderately more, right? But I need to figure that out. That's on my actual priority list, as opposed to the other stuff being we'll see, right? But that is actual priority item. The other item on my list that you guys probably give a shit about is putting a red dot on either this guy or on the DR920. And logic says to do a Holosun 507C with the Vulcan reticle. Well, honestly, that's probably what's going to happen unless I find something comparable that is USB-C or some other easy charging system. But yeah, a MicroStream is the most likely choice. And it's going to come down to practicality. For the same reasons you like the MicroStream, that's what I want, right? Because it fits in your pocket and basically vanishes. And unlike you, at least for the most part, I am probably not as likely to catch it on things, just because my job doesn't involve rubbing up against things all the time. And it's probably going to be a little more practical. That is always a pain. But mine, outside of work, is probably living in my backpack. So again, because right now my light lives in the front top pouch of my backpack. And if the biggest solid metal object in there, I can open the top, fumble around in there, grab it. I don't be able to see to do that. The micro light, I may actually slide in like a pen in one of the other pockets, or the outside of my backpack has Molly all over it. And I leave a carabiner on there. I leave my sunglasses slid in, some other things. I may slide it in there and clip it in there. We'll see. But yeah, the 507C with the Vulcan reticle, from a practical, logical perspective, like why would you not do that one? Because if I don't like it, if I decide that doing a red dot is just not for me, I can sell it for a small loss. Like, done. Sell it to the next guy, and get $250 for it. And I spent $320. Live and learn, it was worth the money to play with it, right? But the cheapskate in me goes, should totally buy one of the Blem Primary Arms brand ones. It's like $130 and only fits on the DR920 because it's not an RMR cut, and this is only RMR. But then I can only put it on that one. And, I don't know. It just seems silly to do that. But on the other hand, like I've already said, like I'm at the ranges I expect to use a pistol, at the ranges I realistically consider a pistol a viable option. That careful aim, that the extra precision you get with the red dot setup is kind of, do I want to add something to add bulk, weight, and expense to the pistol or not? Because at 25 yards with just point and shoot, not a problem. At 40 yards, not a problem. At 40 yards, that guy made one hell of a shot to hit that percentage under stress on a most likely moving target. That's damn good. It's not the theoretical accuracy. It's the real accuracy of your front sight's covering the entire target, right? Where does your gun hit? High, low? That's not something that is immediately obvious to people. Handguns do not hit point of aim. They just don't. Not when you're talking 40 yards away. Now, it might, blind luck, maybe, the top edge of his front sight lined up with the rear sight, and he puts that on the torso, and you're good, right? Maybe not. I have guns that do that at 50 yards. I have other guns where I've got to aim 2 feet over the head of the silhouette target to hit the damn thing at 40 yards. My DR920 shoots very high. I would bet that it is dead on at 40 yards because it's freaking 8 inches high at 25. At realistic distances you're going to need it at, you can't tell. But, it is definitely something that I noticed practicing with it, is that at 25 yards on the indoor range, if you lollipop hold, those 5-spot targets that most ranges have where they're like ovals with a red center. Well, if you lollipop the bottom of the whole target, not the red center, but the whole thing, I'm barely in the gray at the top of that one. Yeah. So, and it's a big, big front sight. It's a big, beefy sight. So, a red dot on that does make sense in a lot of ways. But for my needs, for my priorities, for how I think about it, do I need it? Not really. Do I want it? Oh, hell yeah. Do I want to play with it for the channel? Hell yeah. But is that worth $320 to me? Or is it worth $250 saying, hey, just assume we're passing it along? Because in the same vein, I have my slide and frame grip kit from the P320 that I still need to sell. Well, that's what people say. It's not just the longer distances, but it's their speed up close. I don't it couldn't be faster because I'm not really paying attention to my sights up close. At 15 yards and in on a fast shot, if I want to be center of torso on a silhouette target, uh, yeah. I mean, the gun comes up, I pull the trigger. In fact, I don't even need to bring the gun up. I can do a point shot, and I'm shooting as I'm bringing the gun up. So like, bang, 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 and I mean that's reps. That's knowing the gun. Like I can't do that yet with this guy, but my DR 920 points the same as my 1911s. The way I put the rear grip piece in, it indexes the same for me, and you can't be faster than never use the sights at all, right? Like never actually aimed in that sense. And to me, that's the red dot has value further out, but does it have any value up close where I think that I'm actually going to need it? Meaning I'm actually going to need the gun. I don't know. I don't know that it's worth the money to me for something that if they're that far away, probably not shooting. I'm probably going the other way. It's the only scenario where I'm taking that shot is the same scenario that gentleman found himself. And I don't go out much. like even if you calculate the normal odds for somebody to be in that scenario, right? I'm like a 10th of those, 100th of those. I can't remember the last time I was in a mall. And I live in Texas in a conservative small town area. The running joke for me with most of my friends is if there's an active shooter in most of the places I go, I'm hitting the ground because there's going to be a lot of bullets flying. I'm not worried about whether I'm carrying. I'm literally going to hit the damn ground because there's going to be guns everywhere. And I mean, that's just the reality of where I live. So to me, the need for it is always going to, not always, but like the realistic need is very up close and personal, because otherwise I'm either staying the hell out of it or leaving, getting out of that situation. If somebody is even if they're shooting at me and they're 40 yards away, if they've got a handgun, I'm probably getting out of there. I'm not going to stand there and draw my gun and shoot back. That's giving them time to get more shots on target, right? The scenario where that would be practical for me is slim versus many other scenarios where it got in the way, it snagged on something, it broke, and now I'm that much more delayed because my front sight is not tall enough on either of these guns to aim with normally with that mounted. It is low enough on the shadow systems that you can see the tops of the sights. Like it technically co-witnesses, but barely. Like that's a tough aim. And I don't know. But the answer really is that I don't know until I put one on one of my guns and I put a couple thousand rounds of training into it. I don't know. I'm speculating, right? I'm not speaking from a actual real world evaluation. I am looking at my scenarios and going, would this help, not help, based on minimal information? And unfortunately, I'm not a big enough channel to get one as a loner. Not even the cheapo primary arms. Like I'm not a big enough channel for that. Especially not right now with YouTube hammering views. My regular videos are getting like 40 freaking views. What the freaking do? So yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm going to get one as a loner that I can do a grand thumb and go through, a shitload of ammo, make an opinion, and then done with it. I'm going to have to buy it. So we'll see. It's on the list. I almost did it when I sold guns and was sitting there with the cash in my hand. we have one at work. We have not the Vulcan one though. We have the regular one at work. And I'm like, the Vulcan one, if your eyes are a little off, is known to do duplicate chevrons. And my eyes aren't perfect. Red dots are decent for me, but not great. Do I want to do that versus I can look at this one right here in the store and it works? So, right, the dot is pretty good. Or do I order the one from Primary Arms and then have to send it back? But I'm like, if you're going to do this, at least try to do it right. And then, once you don't just spend the money right then and there, it gets a little harder. So we'll see. We are at an hour. Anybody got any questions? Anything else? Monsieur Generalist, how is your new build going? I saw the workup tests with the cheapo 4350. I don't know. I'm assuming that it was cheaper than regular 4350. And it was interesting. But like you said, you were losing velocity. But, velocity is not the be-all, end-all. As long as it's accurate, it seemed pretty accurate. But I know you wanted that rifle for distance hunting. That was part of your priorities for it. So losing some of that velocity is always, it hurts. But like you said, cheap practice, right? It lets you practice without spending the money. And if it saves 15 cents a shot, that adds up. Ouch. So cheaper, but not cheap. Yeah. I'm so glad I haven't had to buy primers yet. like I'm still thinking in terms of if I sell some primers, I don't have to worry, I don't have to budget for that optic, right? Sell a couple boxes of primers. There you go. Because I have primers I'm never going to use. The odds of me ever hand loading more 45 ACP, slim to none. So me needing large pistol primers, Yeah, rewatch it tomorrow. Maybe YouTube will put chapters in. I don't do it manually, but maybe YouTube will put chapters in for you by tomorrow. Ouch. I mean, I guess that's not too bad because usually I used to figure it was like $24 to $30 a pound times 8. So, I mean, it's expensive, but it's not, like you said, 2019 pricing, not 2021. I've still got a bunch of 4350 that I paid normal pricing for. Because when I got into doing 6.5 Creedmoor, that was the powder. Like everybody was like, that's the powder. So I bought a couple pounds, worked up my load. It worked. And then bought a bunch. And then, a few years later, sold the rifle. A couple of years later. Youch. Yeah, I mean, they know they got you. If you want that, what are you going to do? If you're a PRS competitor or a dedicated long distance shooter, and that's the load you've got, I mean, what are you going to do? Do you spend a bunch of money doing a new load development? That's going to cost you more in bullets and brass wear and tear and powder and primers than just spending the money. And you could spend $100 in primers and bullets just trying to recreate your load with a different powder. That's fucked up. Yeah. Like, no joke. I've several times thought about, if I just sell my primers, I can buy the motorcycle. Like, am I really going to do any reloading for the next few years before they come back down? Really? Like, how much do I care? Because I've mostly gone to factory ammo. My hand loads that I've got, they fill the niche I've got for them. But for regular range day shooting, I'm mostly shooting factory ammo. Yeah, for bigger calibers, absolutely. Which is one of the reasons the 6.5 Creedmoor wasn't getting shot and got sold. Because if I'm not shooting it, why own it? And it was too expensive to shoot regularly. And I don't have a personal need for it. Like, there wasn't anything I was doing that rifle filled a required niche. It filled the niche at my old home at the old range when I was shooting steel at 200 yards all the time. The steel we had, you could barely hear it if you shot it with the 223. Tink, tink. Other people are shooting, like, it was horrible. You shoot it with a 308 or a 6.5 Creedmoor, you knew you hit it. And I just had gotten sick of 308 and wanted to try something else. So, yeah. Yeah, it's because the motorcycle hasn't happened. I still don't have one. And it's killing me. Like 90% of the time I get my car, I'm like, this could be a motorcycle run. I don't need my car for this. But I can't really get rid of the car. Like, it's not like I can sell the car and buy the motorcycle. As financially I could. No money out of pocket. I would put money in my pocket. But then you can't haul other stuff at all. And occasionally it'd be nice. Like, once a week, every other week, I would need a 4-wheel vehicle with some cargo capacity, even if it was just a frame. But it's a pain, right? And plus, I mean, way better off having the car and the motorcycle. Just shit goes wrong. Weather goes bad, like whatever. You have to go to work and the weather's horrible. Do you really want to do that on a motorcycle? Yeah. I mean, and I'm in Texas. It's almost year-round riding. Like, if you want to ride early in the morning, when it's still not super hot out, you can ride year-round. If you're just cruising down the highway, you can ride, in even the hottest days. So, like, I could go to work every day on the motorcycle because it hasn't rained on my way to work a couple months. It's rained while I was at work, but I haven't driven home or to work in the rain. So I've not driven in the rain. Let's put it this way. I have not driven in the rain yet in 2022. Could have been a motorcycle. And yeah, it's just really like, I haven't broken out my reloading stuff since I moved. It's like, sometimes life moves along and you need to just admit that things have changed. And because if I'm going to sell this stuff, now's the time to do it, right? I mean, like, if I'm going to sell the primers, get $100 a box. If I'm going to sell the powder, non-selling it as a store, so maybe I get 25 pounds each. Still, like, that adds up. All the bullets I've got, all the brass I've got, sell my Dillon RL 550. Like, that adds up. That adds up to a motorcycle. like no joke. It adds up to a relatively recent used Sportster 1200 or a 500cc Honda. One of the Honda, what is it? What's the 500cc adventure bike? I can't remember, but like, that would be a perfectly good bike for me. Perfectly good on the highway, comfortable. I can take it on, back roads without worrying about, if there's a little rut or something like the poor iron would be unhappy with. Yeah. On the other hand, it doesn't have any class. It doesn't have any style. Even an iron 1200, a few mods. It's got some flair. It's got the whole thing. Or step up, spend the extra money. And I'll owe some money on it if I did it. A soft tail standard. So That's also easier to put bags on. The irons, it's hard to put any significant bags on them. You know, they don't fit well. It's just, you can do it, but it doesn't fit well. And then on the Honda, you can do the bags, but I don't know. It lacks something. I don't know. It felt too plasticky. The higher end ones are better, but the 500 series in that bike just felt like a plastic toy. What it reminded me of was a Glock. Like, does the job, very reliable, cost effective, plastic. And yeah, but oh, I had more hot chocolate. It's not hot anymore, but that was definitely chocolate milk at that point. It was, in fact, cold enough to be chocolate milk because apparently the air conditioning hits out here, because I wasn't feeling it. But we have gone way over my normal time. So I'm going to call it quits. Unless anybody's got any major questions, comments, concerns, secret of life. I don't have the answer for the secret to life. It's not my thing. I was never good at that. What is it? 87, 42. Take your choice. I mean, the secret to life is always more ammo, right? N+1 on guns, N+1 on boxes of ammo. Well, it's 42 if we're the universe, but I think it's 87 for RFCOM. It's been a long time. I don't spend much time on RFCOM anymore. I swing through for the tech forums and then wander off, because if I read the general discussion area, I just get annoyed at both people and what they're talking about, because it's usually something I just didn't need to add to my life for stress. Okay. Good night. Stay safe. Keep shooting. All that jazz. Have fun. Ciao.